What's up, AJ? You're up next and last.
Hey, yeah. Okay, I'll try to keep it short.
No
Um,
problem.
okay. Yeah, 10-20 at Lucky Chances in San
Ah,
Francisco.
10-20. So this is their big. This game doesn't normally run, right?
Nah, this had been a 3-5 match stack that had just progressively turned bigger and then got a little shorthanded. And when it gets shorthanded, they allow like 10-20 sometimes.
By the way, when we were recording this on April 17th, the video that we put up today was me chastising a guy from Lucky Chances on our YouTube channel about how he's playing the 300 cap game there. And I was like, dude, come on.
Yeah, I feel like
The $7
I feel like
drop.
yeah, every call from Lucky Chances is about should they move up in stakes.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think they 100% should.
So
Nobody
is
can
so
beat
is this
that
a
game.
time game then? Did they do time?
Yeah, this is time.
Okay, and how deep are you?
We were 5.5K with the main villain and then 8K with the other villain.
But you're 5.5 effective ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
5.4, I think exactly.
Okay.
So the button, I'm in the big blind with deuces. The suit won't matter at all. And
Okay.
the button, who's a good player, pretty aggressive. He's actually a bracelet winner,
Really?
funny enough. Not famous, but good player. Opens to 80, which is standard for him. Um, Small blind calls, which honestly, that she hadn't been too aggressive, pretty passive. I haven't seen her three bet that much. Um,
Yeah, I mean
and then,
that's a little bit weird, right? Right off the bat.
yeah,
Hmm.
he was unconventional.
Right. And
And then
you complete.
yeah, I completed. But I had a question about, for me, it was just like an auto, like mindless gonna call. Do you think I should ever be folding?
Should you ever be folding? I was interesting because you were going to say should you be three betting here. There's merit to folding. Actually, there's a lot of merit to folding heads up. Now it's interesting because heads up, it's easier for you to realize your equity, right? Heads up. Here you're saying you're not going to be able to realize your equity and you're just purely set money. Would you do more calling heads up? I was just kind of thinking of the caliber of player on the button.
Yeah, I'd definitely call heads up,
You would
but
call heads up, yeah.
there's no way I'm gonna win this pot without hitting a set in my mind.
What about three betting?
Three ways. I, I mean, I'd never have considered it,
Just
but
because just because there's dead money out. I just feel like sometimes I'm not advocating squeezing here, but there are certain situations where it's just like free money when the small
yeah,
blind
I mean,
calls. You know what I'm saying? I mean, sometimes you'd rather. I mean, I would much rather have like some sort of hand that can structure correctly and pick up equity as opposed to like deuces. You know what I mean? Where you're
yeah,
like,
for
fuck.
sure.
But yeah, I mean, I think folding probably does have some merit. It's a unique scenario here too, where it's three ways. So folding three ways more than heads up. And then once you get more than that, then you're sort of priced into a set mine, right? Like if it was like four ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then
I
the
think
other thing
so.
too about three betting, I said too, is like you wonder how wide this guy's going to defend. If he's a good player, you don't want to blow the pot up with a shitty hand from out of position either.
He's defending 100 to three bets, kind of his thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. So you make the call. Okay. So it's like
Yeah, so I
250.
call
Yeah. Hmm.
240
Yeah.
to the flop, and it's king, queen, deuce, rainbow.
King, queen, deuce, rainbow. So you flop
Yep.
bottom set. Okay.
Yeah, so it checks to the button,
Hmm.
and he bets 80.
Okay.
And the small blind calls.
Interesting. So before you tell me what you're going to do, I mean, here's the thing. There's a lot of things going through my mind, right? Like I was going to say, like if the small blind's out of there, this is the type of board where sometimes you might play this as like a call throughout to have strong hands to the river. Although I will say that it's such a late configuration open, your hand might be too strong for that. If this crusher guy had opened UTG somehow and you like completed in the big blind and you were heads up, you actually might take this as like a call across three streets if you follow me. You know what I mean? But
Definitely.
against a button open, it's like there's a lot of stuff, and he should be
I
calling
mean,
down a lot too. I mean, obviously the small blind's in the hand. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. When the small blind calls here, yeah, I mean, you would probably want to start building. I mean, here's the thing too, right? So he really shouldn't be, if you just call, if you're not going to do one of these weird, like, donk turn types of things, which I guess sometimes might have some merit. It's not something that I do all like donk a 6 turn. It's just like, he's just going to take a lot of equity on the turn when you overcall. I talked about this in my podcast late. Like, it's just like when you overcall here, he has to have like a pretty strong turn double barrel. You know what I'm saying? Like, to make a turn double barrel when you overcall. I mean, now it is a rainbow board, but you will see it get checked through a lot. So yeah, I mean, I would probably do a lot of check raising here. You kind of hope that the small blind has a king. I mean, you don't have to go super large.
Yeah, so I thought about that. I actually thought just calling would seem pretty strong, and he would just, like you said, he would just check a lot of turns, and he'd take his free card, ace 10, ace jack, jack 10, jack 9. So I thought either, no matter what I do, it's going to look pretty strong on this board, because I'm probably not going to be check raising a lot. I mean, there's not that many draws, and like you said, often with really strong hands, I would just call. But I decided to check raise to 400.
So the only thing about the large sizing here is, and I'll look in the chat. So when you take this sizing to 5x after it goes bet call, what do you think the button's continuing range here is to 5x? Because the small blind called. Like, if he has like, is he supposed to continue with any king? Like king 5 suited? You know what I mean? Like, with the small blind calling? I mean, at a minimum, it's the bare minimum, it's a king, and I could see sometimes folding out, right? Because he's going to have those hands, right? He's opening from the button, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's my only thing about, I would hate to fold out some kings here. And
I have a hard time seeing him folding a king, to be honest. I mean,
you think he's going to call like with king 5 with the small blind behind him?
Yeah, that's probably true. I don't know. I don't know enough about. I mean, I know he's a good player. I just don't know enough about. I know he likes to continue to raises and to check raises a lot.
I mean, the interesting other thing here too is like you never have kings or queens here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if he's a thinking player, so the best hands that you can have is deuce. You literally have the best hand you ever have.
I thought my hand was so face up, honestly.
Or you have king deuce, right? Queen deuce suited if you defend with that, or jack 10. I mean, maybe you don't squeeze with jack 10 suited. I would squeeze there a lot with jack 10 suited. So, I mean, it's fine that your hands face up. It's just like you're not repping. So whenever you're in a situation where you're not repping much, but you have thick value, that's not a bad spot to be in, right?
No, of course. I'm ecstatic.
Yeah.
Bottom set.
And obviously you can never, ever fold against a good player, no matter what. I think for those reasons that because you can't have kings or queens, so you have the best hand you possibly can have. Okay, so you raise to 400. Okay,
my plan was to check raise the flop and then check the turn because my read on this guy is that when he gets check raised fairly often on the flop, and then if he ever gets checked too, I see him betting a lot. And so I thought because I play with him a decent amount to know that like I'm going to be check raising him a lot and then checking, just giving up. So it'd be nice to throw in a really good hand for that.
Well, I mean, that would be a case for, I think, making it smaller. The check raise smaller. That would be a more credible line, I think. Like, you make it 400 and let's say he peels with like ace jack, ace 10 with a backdoor, and then you check a 5. Like, is he betting that? Or you're saying like if he's got jack 10, is he betting that? It's just... that seems more credible if you make it a little bit smaller. But when you go so large, I don't know if you're going to get those hands bet. But okay, so you go to 400 and
he folds pretty quickly. And so I was getting ready to rake my chips in and win the pot.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen. Right?
No. And then the small blind makes one of those speeches like 400. Like there's barely anything in the pot. And then she calls. And so
that's good. I mean, you hope that she has king queen here.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of was getting some strength from that talk.
Yeah,
I don't know if I should read into it at all. It could have just been like honest. Um, but yeah, so she calls. So there's like
1150 or something in there.
1320. Oh wait, no.
I think it's 1150, right? 250, and then you put in 900,
It's yeah,
1150.
320 plus
Yeah,
800, so
yeah.
1120. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, because I mean, you would think that she would three bet ace king, right? I mean, maybe not. I don't know. It's just
She's a bit unconventional. I knew this before the hand that she was a bit unconventional. Like earlier, she had min three bet me next to act, like in a full ring game.
mm.
Um, but she's like a thinking play. Yeah, I think she's like good, but not standard.
Some
So
people in
she
the live chat
calls.
saying you're getting trapped by kings or queens. I mean, if that's it, I mean, so be it. I mean, you just
Yeah,
there's more king queen here.
yeah.
Um,
So
okay.
so she calls. The turn is the eight of clubs, full rainbow.
So again, it's king, queen, deuce, rainbow, button end opened, small blind calls, hero calls the deuces, flops bottom set, button bet to 80, small blind calls, this lady, hero check raise to 400, button fold, small blind calls, 1130, turns an 8, total brick. What's the deal with this lady? Is she like a reg or anything? Or
She's a reg, like probably young, early 30s, mid 30s. Good. Like I don't consider her a nit. I don't consider her like action. She just kind of is.
I'm just going balls to the walls here, dude. I mean, like, I hope she has king queen. I mean, if you go two-thirds here to pot, I mean, she's not supposed to fold king jack or king 10 if she calls the check raise on the flop, right? I mean, I realize that those block jack 10, which is your primary bluff, but um, I don't see any real reason to go on the smaller side here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I went small. I went 600. She checked to me. I went 600.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of small.
I mean, you started with 5,400, right? I mean, I want to get like if you go 1,000 here and she calls, the pot's going to be 31, and then you'll have like 39 left. Where if you go 600, it's a little bit on the smaller side. But I mean, maybe that makes sure that she calls with kings. Hero bet
I,
600.
I didn't know what she would call three streets with big. I thought maybe I could go like small to medium twice and get called by like king jack, but
Yeah.
I didn't even think that was possible. Honestly,
So she calls again.
oh no, she doesn't call.
Okay.
She makes it 1500.
So here's the thing. This is I don't know if this is a theorem in this. They used to call this the rubber. There was some sort of old school theorem. Rubber. This way back when. It's like when you raise post flop, one pair is no good. Remember that? That was a beluga whale thing. But then there was something else. Maybe I made it up. I can't remember when I said people raise post flop, they're never folding. She's never folding here. So it's hard to kind of screw this up. I mean, I would probably just be like, it's way more likely she has king queen here than kings or queens. Like I'm never folding, right? Literally, this should be king queen most of the time, or you're getting trapped by kings or queens. But you're not. But because there's more king queen, I mean, if you want to make the case and say, well, I just think that like there's way more of a chance that something bizarre happens on the river, like an ace coming, that might shut the action down versus her now like check raise folding king queen. I mean, those are the two options, right? The case to be made for not jamming here would be somehow if she check raise folded king queen and squarely put you on deuce deuce, right?
She would never fold king queen here.
Then
Never. I know her.
then
Yeah.
fine. Then it's not even. Then I mean,
Yeah.
I mean that's because then unless you're telling me that it's more likely she has kings or queens here than king queen because of the way that it's played.
Um. No, I don't think it's more likely. I think actually in the moment we had me and her had been battling a little bit, and I'd just been running so good that day in big pots versus her, and so I been probably have a pretty aggressive image, and I actually thought she might have 8-8, putting me on the flop on Jack 10. Honestly, she had just been, she Donk led into me in a 4-bet pot earlier for 1200 into 1800 on a king high flop, but I had just beaten her in a big pot before that, and I think she was just playing a little emotionally.
Well, if you think that you have the best hand here, let's just say that you have the best hand here more often than you don't. Okay, what do you think the best play is?
That was the question that in my head.
Well, it has to be jam if she's never folding value, unless you think there's some sort of bluffing frequency.
I mean, what if she folds king 8 suited?
King 8 suited? She going to turn 2-pair and fold? She's in there to your check raise, and now when she turns it, she's going to fold? She defends to your 400, and now when she turns it, she's going to fold? When she beats like king deuce and queen deuce?
But I'm never jamming over the top of those two hands at that point.
I don't know. But does she know that, though? I just think that, like, if she's never folding and you think you have the best hand and she's not bluffing, then I would just go with it. I mean, it's not like there are that many scare cards. I understand the board's rainbow, but I mean, the only reason to call here would be somehow if you were thinking about folding later on. So, just because only bad things can happen. What did you do?
Okay. I just called. I wanted to keep any potential, like, overvalue or bluffs in.
So you put in 3,000 here on the turn. So now it's 4,130, and you guys have like what 3,400 or so left, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. And what's the river?
The river is a 7 of clubs, so nothing.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
And then she bets 1,200.
Well, I mean, I'm just going along with you, caller. The reason why you called on the turn was because you wanted to keep in, you wanted her to make any hero folds, and you didn't want her to like fold out any bluffs, but she can still have king queen here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jam. I mean, she's only going to have, I mean, we're talking about reverse pot odds. I mean, she's only going to have, if you make the call, the pot's going to be 6,500 and you only have like 18 left, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be like 8,300, 18 for her to call. 8,300, 18 for her to call. There's a lot of calling that's going to happen there. You know what I mean? Yeah. What did you do?
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought about it for a while, almost to the point where I thought like maybe I can't raise anymore.
So she check raised to 1,500 and then followed with a smaller bet, not same bet,
it just seems
smaller
so weak
bet.
to me.
Yeah.
So I jammed.
Okay.
And she did one of those. Did he just say all in? And then she had a massive smile on her face, and she.
Oh God!
It
sounds like king.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, that's.
I talked to some of my friends after, and they thought like it's probably just a call because what is she calling with on the river? But
king
I guess
queen?
King queen makes sense
because they don't think she would play king queen this way.
Yeah, I mean, I that's what they. Said.
I mean,
king queen might check raise or might raise the flop, might raise bigger on the turn, might go bigger on the river.
I think she has king queen a lot. That's why I'm playing this for stacks. Obviously, it's a cooler situation, but I don't agree with your friends, and I might have just turned around and jammed on turns, trying to get money in from king queen, so that there isn't any hero folds from a 9 or an ace. Because if you're just never folding, then it is what it is.
Okay.
It's interesting if the river's an ace or the river's a 9 and then she jams too from up front. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.
All right.